3, 2, 1.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Port Royal's public hearing and council workshop for February 4th, 2026. It's already February, that's crazy. But first, we've got our public hearing. We'll call that to order. The purpose of this is 3 ordinances. They're all very similar. 2026-1, 2026-2, 2026-3. All 3 have to do with construction of sidewalks within the town. One is on 11th Street, one is on 8th Street, one is on 12th Street. Is there anybody that would like to be heard with regard to ordinance 2026-1, 2026-2, and 2026-3? All right, hearing none, we will close the public hearing. Thank you all so much. Up next, we now have our council workshop. First on tonight's council workshop, we have a presentation, parking study from the MRB Group. Come on down.
Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely, thank you.
Council, appreciate your the opportunity to present to you tonight. Joined tonight by Heather Simmons-Jones, who is our principal for Southeast Operations based in our Charleston office. My name is Matt Horn. I'm the Director for Strategic Growth for MRB Group. And both Heather and I have had a long history here in the Low Country. Both of us, Heather worked with Beaufort County in the Economic Development Group, and I was an assistant city manager over in Beaufort in my prior life. So I joke with Heather, I'm always looking for an excuse to get back to the Low Country, and we love working with Van and your team. You got a really great crew here. I told Van it would be 10 minutes, not a 10-minute introduction, so I better rock and roll. So Port Royal's growing, and that can be a really good thing if you do it intentionally and you do it smart. I was remarking to your team today, spent the afternoon literally driving street by street again, and just looking at all the really great infill development that's happening here. Really smart development, smart growth, attractive, functional. But as that continues, if you're going to stay intentional and you're going to grow the way you want to grow, parking is going to be one of those things that's going to either be a pinch or a point of pride, right? And so what you really want to do is continue to track your parking inventory, think about ways you can influence it in a cost-effective way, and ways that we can make it safe and easy for visitors and locals alike. So Van and the team engaged MRB Group to do a couple of things. One, look at the existing parking inventory. And so we did that. We'll talk to you about how we did that. To understand how your regulations affect parking. Mm-hmm. And I'll say, without question, you're doing all the right things from a regulatory standpoint that don't impede parking and really enhance the opportunity for developers to do the right thing. And then we also wanted to look at some of these big deal projects that you've got coming down the pike and what that might do to influence the existing parking inventory and future parking use and patterns. And so based on our analysis of existing conditions, we got a few inventory management recommendations for you. So how we did this, your team was great, feeding us all kinds of existing plans and project documentation so we could see streetscape projects and development projects that are coming down the pike and understand how those are going to shape Port Royal downtown in particular into the future. We interviewed key staff, including a lot of the folks here tonight, and stakeholders in the community, business owners downtown, frequent users of downtown amenities. So we conducted a bunch of interviews. We did physical observations, literally put a team member on a bike and she rode up and down every street a bunch of days. We tried to split it up between weekdays and weekends, mornings and evenings. Good guidance from Van and the team on when we should pay particular attention around pinch points, school drop-off and pickup, special events, those kinds of things. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then, we have a good familiarity with what best practices are. We wanted to give you some ideas about how you can make your existing inventory stretch a bit farther for a bit longer. So we did 10 days of data collection, 8 weekdays and 2 weekend days. We split that between a Saturday and a Sunday so we could see if there was any real difference in between those days. We did come down for your trunk or treat event and your Oktoberfest event, so we could see how those how that parking inventory flexes and stretches during those events, and so that gave us a good picture of those are part of life in Port Royal and a good part of life. People really enjoy those. So how can we make sure that, again, we're being safe and accessible for folks who are visiting? The basic study area you see here, effectively Rebo Road to the north, Sands Beach to the south, the waterfront to the east, and Richmond Avenue to the west. 1,200 parking spaces in that inventory. That's a monster inventory for that space, for that size. And it does come with a mix of marked formal spaces that you think of when you walk down the street or in your lots, with curb stops and striping, and then those neighborhood parking opportunities with soft shoulder along neighborhood streets. But 1,200 parking spaces, we were pretty impressed with that significant inventory. So we broke this up. You can see here, this fancy pointer. We broke this up according to zones just to try and get a feel for how certain areas of downtown behave differently than others. Good guidance from the staff on how the zones break out. So just walk you through those quickly. Generally south of 8th Street and down to Sands Beach, we called Zone A, about 122 spots, 110 marked. But we know how people engage with parking, and we recognize that that's a long way, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody's coming into town and said, hey, I think I'll park way down at Sands and walk uptown. That's not really anything that's realistic, but it exists. It's in the inventory. The beach is an incredible asset. You want to make sure you have good parking to serve that, and we think you do. But 110 marked spots, 12 soft shoulder spots. It does get used a lot. We were here particularly during a bit warmer time than today, than this week. But it's one of the more intensely used areas, but still only averaging in about the 20% range. And you're going to see a theme here. This is there's a lot of inventory that's going unused, and we'll talk about why we think that is. On the weekends, obviously, it gets some higher usage, but really only up to about 30% during our observations. Zone B, basically around between 8th and 11th Streets. Lots of spots here, 200 plus spots. About even between marked spots on streets and in lots, and about 108 soft shoulder spots. Again, more intensely used. This is kind of a core area, but still in the low 20% range, and only as high as just around 30% on the weekends. Zone C, east of Paris, between 11th and 16th, about 180 spots, drifting a little more towards the soft shoulder. But anytime we're operating in these grids where the neighborhoods are, that's where we're going to see a lot more of these soft shoulder spots. Still about the same, low 20s. Over 40% on the weekend evening hours, particularly along Paris Avenue. You see a lot of uses in there, or a lot of use in there on the weekends. This is the most intensely used zone on the weekends. Zone D, east of Paris, between Rebo and 16th, 78 marked spots, 32 soft shoulder. Very busy during the weekdays. A lot of business activity during the weekdays in this part of the area. Weekends a little bit less, but not dramatically less. Zone E, which is basically Rebo, Paris, 16th, and Columbia, about 140 spots, breaking pretty evenly. Pretty much lower usage there. This is a heavily residential area, so people aren't drifting out into this area if they're just generally visiting. A little bit lower on the weekends, not a lot of activity out here. Zone F, west of Paris, between 11th and 16th, a ton, because again, we're back in one of these neighborhood grids. So over 300 soft shoulder spaces, just about 40 marked spaces. Again, because it is a neighborhood, and you all know this, those neighborhood on-street parking opportunities, it's kind of a best-kept secret kind of thing. When people come through, they don't think of that as a place to park for a lot of reasons. So it gets a lot less usage. But we did see some higher usage over the weekends, and we did see, again, up close to 40%. Smallest zone of the study area, all off-shoulder spaces here, located in the northeast corner, about 95 spaces, very low usage, pretty much weekend, weekday, same. In terms of regulation, it's just America's youngest judge. But in terms of regulation, again, Port Royal is real lightweight when it comes to this, responsive, but not overburdensome. The development code addresses what's required in terms of off-street parking, and calls for some bicycle parking, which I loved. I think that's, you're on your way to being a true multimodal city when you balance those. Article 3 addresses your transects and your zoning requirements around regulations, and then the Safe Harbor PUD falls into this study area, and they've got a parking plan there. Again, nothing onerous, all smart regulation, nothing that we saw that was influencing parking. No paid parking. That's something to note, right? From a business standpoint, that can mean a lot to businesses to have free parking downtown. It's something that your neighbors over in Beaufort don't have, right? They've got meters, and so you all have a bit of an advantage there in terms of usability. We talked to the business owners and some residents in the area. Business owners felt generally that parking availability is meeting their needs. They do know, and they do observe, and you all know, that during special events, you start to see a strain, a stretch. We have to close down some streets during those events. That takes some of that striped parking out of circulation. And so people kind of innovate with where they're going to park and how they're going to park. And so you see some of that spill out into the residential areas and into some private lots. The stakeholders told us that the residential street parking is confusing, right? There's not a lot of signage. There's no real indication that, hey, it's okay to park in this person's yard, or what people perceive as this person's yard. And so it doesn't get a ton of use. Angled parking and additional off-street lots, these are things that the business owners and residents encouraged as opportunities to increase your parking inventory. And so that's something to think about. But in reality, we encourage people to start looking at inventory solutions, expanding inventory, when you hit an average of about 75%, right? At really any peak usage time, that's when you'll really want to start looking at it. Your maximum peak usage was half of that. So you have a substantial amount of parking that, if it's organized correctly and signed correctly and wayfound correctly, that you've got a good couple of years worth of parking inventory. But if, as you're starting to grow and if you're looking for low cost alternatives to enhancing the inventory a bit, angled parking, 45-degree parking will increase the number of formal spaces on the street in areas where it makes sense. Obviously, like the closer you get to the school, for example, that's going to be a little more challenging. You don't want people, trying to figure this out with school buses and all of these other things. So we try to be as safe as we can in those areas. But generally, we think to capitalize on the existing inventory, signage is your friend, right? Now, I'm a sign miser. I don't believe in sign pollution, right? It can really gum up your downtown. So you want to be smart about it, and you want it to be attractive, and you want it to be aligned with your branding and your downtown feel. So there are opportunities to do that. So we just took a light look at this, just a light touch on this, because it's not really a wayfinding study. But if you sign, for example, out on Paris Ave, you sign something that says, hey, there's on-street parking available down here. that at least directs folks' attention to those neighborhood streets. And so now they know, okay, well, that's an opportunity. And then, you know, an implementation of a sign like this that directs people, hey, in between driveways, it's fair game. Parking in between driveways is acceptable on this street. That's a clear signal to folks that, all right, I've been directed here, and now I know what to do, just park in between the driveways, and I'm all set. And so you can see, just for, you know, functionality's sake, it's not super intrusive, right? It's something that can get your attention if we're going 22 miles an hour, which you always should be doing on Paris Ave. You'll catch that sign and you'll understand what's going on there. In the neighborhood itself, you know, being smart about where you place these. Again, we don't want hundreds of them down there. We don't want one in front of every house, but a couple of them on each block will get the message out. We'll give people the understanding that, yep, this makes a lot of sense. And you can see, you know, that you place it in such a way that you're still within the right of way, but you're giving cars the opportunity to park, enough space to park. It doesn't have to be intrusive. It can be attractive and fit in with your overall brand. So generally, we think you have a more than sufficient inventory. Just needs to be organized. We were, as part of our engagement, we provided the staff with all of our digital files that show where every single one of those 1,200 parking spaces are in downtown. You can turn that into a marketing piece that can be shared with visitors to say, hey, here's where you can park. The signage, if you make a modest investment in signage, you'll get people to where they need to be, and that inventory will start to grow. Expanding parking inventory takes time. I'll tell you, you know, Port Royal is becoming a place, appropriately so, is becoming a place where your real estate is so valuable as an economic development asset that you want to make sure you're not mucking it up too much with too many surface parking lots, right? But there are a couple of opportunities out there if you wanted to evaluate those. We included those in our report. Maybe you do something that's low cost and temporary, like a land lease for a lot that you could use for overflow in strategic places. But again, I think, you know, pending how these bigger developments play out, I don't think you're going to need any expansion of inventory for a couple of years. But you need to stay on top of it, because it does take a long time to acquire parking and prepare it. And so don't get caught flat-footed. So every couple of years, take out this report, dust it off, re-inventory, reassess, make sure that it's still behaving the way you wanted it to behave. And if it feels like you're starting to get pinched, if those counts are starting to encroach up on the 75% mark, now it's time to start exploring other options, right? Happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you so much. That was great. Council?
I've just got some comments.
Yeah.
When you look at the soft shoulder in the neighborhoods, that is not blocking sidewalks.
That's correct. Yes, sir. Anything inside the sidewalk towards center line of street.
Okay, all right. I would not be a fan of paid parking. I'll just tell you that.
Paid parking? No, we wouldn't recommend that to you
Yeah.
either.
I don't know, you know, the signage on street parking, I could live with that. I don't think, I wouldn't say put it in the neighborhoods, you know, parking between driveways. I think that would just be kind of asking for a lot of negative comments, encouraging people to do that. I wouldn't be a big fan of that. I do like the overflow, you know, idea. I think the school is used.
It is, yeah.
There's some opportunities around the school.
Yep.
I do like the angled parking. I know when we did the Sands, we looked at some angled parking in there, and I think it's working. I think one pinch point for me with that angled parking is right there at Madison's. As you come down, that's a tough spot, because people are angled in there and it's hard to see around it.
Yeah.
But I really like the angled parking. Parking is meeting, I like to hear the fact parking is meeting the needs, and then capitalize on existing, you know, our existing inventory. I think that's good. 1,200, I didn't realize we had that many parking spots. That's good.
Yeah.
How much of that inventory do you think is soft shoulder parking of the 1,200?
It's over half, certainly.
So,
Okay.
And soft shoulders generally or typically during the times of events, special events, occasion, yeah. Because you surveyed some of the stakeholders, the community, the residents. How did they feel about folks parking, even though it's between their driveways, parking in their front doors like that?
Yeah, mixed results, right? Mixed
Yeah.
results. And
I
you
would
can,
probably do that.
the interviews are one thing, but you can go into the neighborhood and it tells you the story, right? People who plant up close to the shoulder, people who put things out in the shoulder,
Right.
to kind of establish, hey, this is my area.
Yes.
And, you know, short of sending your DPW up and down the roads all day and pulling stuff out of the right of way, it's going to require cooperation. It should, you know, handshaking with the neighbors and explaining, you know, what their rights are.
And this is more of a question for staff, in particular, I look at Noah. Is there a length of time a car can stay parked in the neighborhoods, and how long is that length of time before it has to be moved?
2 days,
48 hours.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking. It's like, it's gotta be after 48 hours, okay. And I feel like we do pretty good with that. People, nope, we don't do? Okay, well,
Patty said no.
when I ride around and see it, I see cars turning over at a pretty good pace. If there's some other areas we need to look at, I'd be more than happy to look at, but from my view, I see it. But I don't go to all the streets, just when I see,
I walk them all.
yeah, you probably see more than I do, that's for sure. Okay, those are just my comments. Thank you for this.
Appreciate
This is
that.
very
Yeah.
enlightening.
Thank
That's a
you.
lot.
It was.
Yes. Appreciate it. And again, kudos to your team, always accessible, and they gave us a lot of help on this, so.
Was anything?
No, that was it.
Anything, Councilman Guerrero?
No, brother, appreciate you.
Yeah, that was great.
Thanks for that.
I think, like you said, it's very important. It's one of those things that you do need to be intentional about. If you're not thinking about as this town grows, we just had a big announcement about a development coming in. We've got, Safe Harbor Marina coming in. We're doing the streetscape improvement down Paris Avenue, really trying to get Paris Avenue into that main street. So it's one of those things, if you're not planning, then all of a sudden you wake up in 10 years and it's a mess. So being intentional about that, I think is really important. So this is good. We could probably include this in our retreat. We have a talk about sidewalks coming up and expanding those and how this could play into it. Is there, and I don't know if this is a crazy question, but I don't know if you would know, but when we're having an event downtown on Paris Avenue, and that is, you're right, that is when you see the most out of the soft shoulders, because I mean, that's where they've got to go. And as you stated, they're allowed to do that. It's totally fine. So when they're doing that, is there a distance that it becomes burdensome to the person, like to the visitor? Like, is there a point where they go, I'm not going there, it's always a mess? Is it 3 blocks, 4 blocks, or does it, at what point does it become, there's no way to park, I'm not even going to that?
Really, really great question. And somebody earlier this week when we were working through this, they said, most towns don't have a parking problem, they have a walking problem, right? There's the prevailing sentiment is a quarter mile is as far as you'll ever.
That's what the average
go.
person's willing to
Yeah.
do, gotcha.
It varies.
Yeah, that's
but,
age,
yeah,
family, I got 5 kids,
Yeah.
absolutely.
that's it. Yeah, about a quarter mile though.
Okay. And then you talked about, you said we're good, looking good for a few years. What should we be keeping in mind at that point? Is that more of when we look at maybe having some overflow lot somewhere? What should be if we're planning 5 years, 10 years down the road?
Yeah. Yep. So you really want to watch as these developments play out.
Okay.
The clinic, your safe harbor. As these developments play out, you're going to want to understand how they're interacting with that parking inventory. Is it getting better or worse or unaffected? So I would pay close attention to that. I would recount, every couple of years.
Okay.
And again, as that thing starts creeping up, as that usage number starts creeping up to 70%, once you get, say, past 60, that's when you're going to go mobilize and say, all right, I would, and this is a personal recommendation, but I would try to lease a surface lot at that point. Let's lease it. Let's see if people use it. Let's see how they interact with it, what the issues are, et cetera. And then stay nimble with it because, again, I think surface parking is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
you're in a really strong real estate market, and you want revenue producing activity on that site, right? And things that are contributing to the quality of life of Port Royal. Parking does, but does parking as much as a really great retail attraction or a really great restaurant or something else that could go on that lot? So yes, ultimately, you're gonna have to consider some additional parking inventory if things happen if the trend goes the way it's going with your growth. Just be smart about it, like you said, intentional. When you're looking at your comprehensive plans and your downtown streetscape plans, just make sure you're accommodating, never backwards, we're never losing one space from here, always making sure that inventory is keeping up.
Good. Yeah, because like you said, I don't think anybody here, we're trying to avoid just laying down a bunch of concrete over something,
exactly.
you know, when it could be something so much more valuable to the town. How that all plays in with the, like I said, the sidewalks. I mean, Port Royal is a very, lots of mode of transportation around here, so we want to make it as safe as possible. So we've got bikes, golf carts, cars, walk pedestrians.
Yeah.
So that was great. Yeah, like you said, 1,200. I didn't know it was that many. That's
lot.
great. So, and
It's
it's
more
good to
than
hear.
all.
Is it, when you say that 75%, 80%, when you start getting to that, is that kind of when you're seeing that on a regular basis? I mean, is it okay for us to be at where we're 20% regularly throughout the day, throughout the week, but then when we have an event, it gets tested at, you know, those 6 times a year when we do a big
Yeah,
festival?
I would set those event dates
that's a
aside
okay.
and just deal with your normal.
So when you start looking, when we're on the regular 70% set to 80%, that's when it's,
Yeah.
okay, we're tapping out.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's how I look at it.
Cool.
okay.
right.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Very
Have a good
informative
day.
presentation.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Half a mile, that's nothing to you, man.
No, in fact, even with the State Department of Education, before school buses are permitted to divert from the existing route, they have to leave at least beyond a half of a mile.
Oh, really? Okay. There you go. Up next, we, thank you for that, like I said, very informative. We've got a special treat, kind of moving things around a little bit. We have another presentation tonight from our friends from the Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust update. Yes. Well, we couldn't wait. We moved you up a week.
I know, thank you. So I'm Christine Rach again. I am
Yeah.
your representative on the Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust. I brought my friends tonight, Claude and Jennifer. You obviously you had Claude here, 2 weeks ago? And we shared just a general update about what the Housing Trust is doing, and then we got into my ask for you to think about a repair program for Port Royal. And we thought, you had a lot of great questions about the repair program. We thought maybe it would be good to dive in a little bit deeper there. The city of Beaufort just did their first update on their repair program. What was it, Friday, Jonathan? So very recent, hot off the presses. We thought that this could be useful information for y'all. So I'm going to turn it over to Claude.
I was about to say, hopefully he didn't run off with a clicker.
Lisa's hoarding it.
Chase them down.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and we apologize that we're a week early, but
No?
it was raining, we didn't have anything else to do, so we
Hey,
decided
we
to go ahead and
appreciate
do
it.
it early. We wanted to talk about our home repair program. When we first started, we had home repair as one of the 3 platforms at the trust, and it has turned out to be the most asked about and the highest demand of all of our programs. Hilton Head, Bluffton have their own programs. City of Beaufort is getting ready to actually start repairing homes within the next 30 to 45 days. We fashioned that program for them, got their approval as we walked through what was important to them, what were the goals and the requirements that they wanted to see, and it has turned out to be a very successful, so successful, in fact, that Hilton Head has asked us to come over and take a look at their program to see if maybe we could modify it, we could help them create a better program. It's identified it as a need across the entire region. The goal is to preserve existing affordable housing stock, but really to preserve existing stock of houses. The longer you keep a family in a house, the better off your community is. And we focused on the health and safety of homeowners. When we talked to the City of Beaufort, what we did was we proposed a matching fund. They put up $150,000. The trust put in $100,000. And we adopted some framework requirements right off the bat. One was that it must be the primary residence. We didn't want homeowners who were renting their property to take advantage of this program. We capped the income eligibility at 80% or less, but you could decide to cap it at any number that you wanted. We looked at what a maximum repair award was, and we looked at a $50,000 per house cap, and that seemed to be a number everybody was okay with. And we divided the city into 5 geographic zones so we could be fair. We were designated as the administrator and the fiscal agent, and the ones responsible for gathering the information and working with the city to make their decisions. When we were putting this together, we looked at the AMI. The AMI for this area, the new one, is going to come out within the next 60 days. We expect to see not a whole lot of change, other than things are going to get worse from the perspective of income families have, and their ability to enter either rental or homeownership housing. We looked at where were the top employment sectors and annual average wages in Beaufort County. As you can see, if you look to the left, accommodation and food service is the lowest paid, but it has the most people in Beaufort County. It has 12,000 people working in that, in accommodation and food service, but it has the lowest wages at an average wage of $31,000. If you look to the right, you'll see your professional people, scientific and technical services. They have the highest wages, but also there's only 3,600 of those jobs available in the county. What we did was we looked at talking to the public first with the consent of the city, and we looked through social media, websites. One of the things that we did, which worked out very well, was everyone who was interested was invited to come to one of 5 workshops. Some of those workshops we had during the day, some of them we had during the evening to accommodate everyone. We released the applications online and hard copies available at the public location in the city. We accepted applications in person and via email. We decided, with respect to income verification and title research, not to rely on those for ourselves to determine, so we went third party. We hired LOCOG to do the income verification for us, and we hired Heritage Law Firm to do the title research. You cannot, in the city of Beaufort, get an allocation unless you have passed those 2 criteria. Applicants were then notified whether they were initially approved or whether we needed additional documentation, and we gave a pretty big window for people to get additional information to us or clarify information that they had sent us. If we run out of money, we're creating a wait list. I can tell you right now that that wait list is already created and is longer than the number of people that we'll be able to accommodate in the first round. We did application intake. We decided with the city to do on a first come, first serve. So we time-stamped each application as it came in, and then we began to look at them. We looked at the top 6 or 7 to determine whether there were issues, whether there were disqualifying issues before we moved forward. We have hired a construction coordinator. It's his job to go to the sites to determine what the scope of work should be, also to get an initial pricing. We will take that to the city to meet with them next week to get their final approval. We don't do anything on the final approval with the resident or with the program without the consent of the city. We want them to sign off and say they're aware. We look for what the scope of work should be, but we also look for what is in the best needs with respect to health and safety for each of the residents that we are looking at. Here's our proposal to you as you go through your workshop over the next few months. To the extent that you would like to participate directly in the home repair program, Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust would propose that we draft a program for you, present it to you. If you are interested, you could then take it, look at it, bend it, throw stuff out, add stuff to it, if this is something that you think you might be interested in doing in the foreseeable future. we would do that work for you. We would give you the backup material. And then if you decide to go forward, we'd be happy to help you put it in place, be happy to help you administer it, and get some really serious repairs done in Port Royal. We were not aware, we knew that there were a lot of repairs to be done in the city of Beaufort. We knew there was some substandard housing. We knew there was real issues. We didn't really know until we started walking in people's houses just how bad it was. The average person that we are helping is an elderly woman by herself, sitting in the house without the means to be able to repair her house. We hope that the city of Beaufort continues this program, and we have committed to them what we would commit to you. To the extent that you decide to move forward with the program, we would do matching funds, and for every year that you decide to extend the program, we would promise matching funds with that as well. I think I got under my 10 minutes.
That was good. That was good.
Very good.
Happy to answer any questions, happy for you guys to think about it and let us know if you need additional information in the future. We appreciate your time, appreciate you seeing us a week early.
No, thank you. It's a great program. Yeah, Councilman Owen, just.
What mechanism is in place to ensure that competitive bids or pricing is utilized and to avoid price gouging? Because some contractors may see this as state money, federal dollars, and so forth. So what mechanism is there in place to ensure that we have fair bids and not inflated pricing?
So we try and get multiple bids on every job that we're doing. Our construction manager has 30 years of experience here in Beaufort. So he's well aware of who can do the work, who can't do the work, and what the pricing of the work should be. I'm happy to tell you that on virtually every single one of the approved 5 homes, it looks like we're going to come in under the $50,000, and part of that is attributed to his ability to really look at pricing and look at what needs to be done. He has come back and said, you know, I know this family wants this, but when you look at the house, the critical issue is this. And we've had those discussions. So the main issue that we've seen is kind of what we expected to see. On jobs this small, there's not a whole lot of big contractors that are even interested in talking to us. So what we're trying to do is trying to hire local. We're trying to hire local who are competitive. And in Beaufort, all of the jobs have to be inspected by the city before they're signed off on and before the contractor's paid.
That's good. I think kind of going on with what Councilman Owen said, you working with local vendors
Yes.
for, and maybe asking for discounts? Hey, you know, this is like Lowe's, Greco, whoever you're sourcing the material from.
Yes.
And they'll work with you. I'm sure they will. I know Lowe's will. I'm sure Greco will too.
Lowe's will, and we have had a case where we have one house that needs some foundation repair, and that particular company that came forward said, you know, I'll give you a discount just because of the program.
Right.
So I think you would see the same thing here.
Sure. Okay. I'm glad to see it's a primary residence. I'd call it 4% property, so that's good. Yeah. Cool.
Are there certain homes that don't qualify for this? If so, which type of homes? And is there a way to help that some way?
So the biggest issue revolves around mobile homes. There is a lot of discussion about what kind of mobile home you could put money in or you should put money in. We have agreed to go by the state standard, which says it has to be 25 years or less in terms of age. But we really also are looking at homes where we ask ourselves, are we putting good money after bad? Are we putting money into something just because we want to help, as opposed to putting money into something that we know is going to last for 10 or 15 years? You know, when we put a roof on, it's going to last. But that's the big question. No, there is no home that doesn't qualify. What we would say, and one of the things that we did learn in Beaufort was, one of the things we would suggest to you if you move forward would be that you place some occupancy criteria, that the family has to be there at least a year. What we found was one applicant in Beaufort submitted an application. They had just bought the house 3 months earlier, and it looked like they were getting money from the city to rehab their house. We denied that application, but we can put all kinds of stopgaps and all kinds of real regulatory things that will help us from putting money into something that really should have another purpose or be done another way. City of Beaufort is full of houses that really need to come down, but because of the historic nature of Beaufort and because of strong sensibilities with respect to keeping something, rehabbing it as opposed to tearing it down, it's hard. It's hard to drive by and see houses that you know, a good wind is going to blow them down. But, we would work with you and ask you, our first question to you would be, who is it that you want to serve?
Do you recommend that an applicant go through LOCOG first for pre-qualifications before coming to you?
Qualifying is part of our application.
Okay, so start with you.
So LOCOG knows what it is we're looking for. And what we've said to LOCOG is we'll pre-screen first so that you're not wasting a lot of your time. LOCOG charges us, as does the title search company, or law firm, rather. I don't think there was an application that didn't come back for clarification and more information. But LOCOG did a very good job very quickly and gave us a really good write-up on why someone didn't qualify.
My reason for asking is coincidentally, yesterday, absolutely yesterday, we had a reunification meeting at the school district. And I had someone to approach me and ask me of this very topic here. And I suggested, which again, I know moving forward, I suggested that they start with LOCOG first because they have an elderly person in the house. So I suggested that they start with them, and then I told them to go to your website after.
Well, that's great advice, and we are, now that LOCOG is under new leadership and going to look at some different things, we have already contacted them and said, let's not duplicate each other's efforts. Can we get together and see if there's something we can do together to address this? They're looking at both counties, and they're looking at a huge expanse. We have both counties as well, but the programs are kind of confined to the municipal areas.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for letting us.
Question really quick though, just so, you said some are coming in under bid.
Mhm.
So in that situation, let's say one's 10,000 under bid, one's 5, one's 20, does that money go back to the town and the trust in proportion to what it was donated, or does that get rebundled and help the next person in line?
Gets rebundled and help the next person
Okay,
in line.
cool. All right,
Thank you.
great, thank y'all so
Thank you.
much.
Thank y'all for being
Appreciate
here.
it.
Yep, and this is something I think we'll discuss more at our retreat coming up in
We're happy to
2 weeks. Yeah,
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
y'all.
Jennifer.
thank y'all, good to see y'all. Okay.
Thanks for the program.
Like I said, we'll chat about that more at the retreat coming up literally in 2 weeks. Be here before you know it. Okay, up next, we have council briefing. Mr. Van Willis.
Drayton and Battery Park Road, we submitted applications for the change in speed limit as well as the speed humps. We did submit that on January 8th. We got some feedback from them on the 13th about some additional signage, so that has been resubmitted, so we're waiting an answer on those permits. Villages, we've done layout and depth verifications. I've been working on the schedule of progress, met with the contractor, believe last week. They're anticipating a start in early March and final completion by May 20 of 26. We have to get that project wrapped up so they understand the tight timelines there. We've been working basically in 2 alleyways, kind of 2 separate jobs. We'll be reaching out to residents to make them aware of those schedules and how we anticipate accommodating their parking during that time frame. Paris Avenue Streetscape, this is obviously the CDBG grant project. We're estimating that notice to proceed in early to mid-February. We got a meeting set up tomorrow with the businesses to go over that kind of plan of action moving forward. Obviously, this one is pretty significant. Traffic control will be a challenge. We will be doing some signalization as we move it forward. We'll move as quickly as we can. Logistically, it's going to be a challenge, so we'll
Thank
get
y'all for
there.
meeting with the businesses.
What's that?
Thank you for meeting with the businesses.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
I'm going to reiterate that. Thank you all for doing that. And then if we could just over-communicate as much as possible with social media, emails, that, just.
We signed up each of you one day holding the stop and yield sign.
Hey, it wouldn't be my first time, So,
Probably ain't gonna be our last either.
Yeah. So,
I left the San Jose Sewer Rebo Road Master Plan in the briefing. Obviously, we've completed the master plan, but Beaufort Jasper reached out to us last week to discuss kind of where we stood on the Rebo Road project. There's a pot of money that's been set aside by them over 5 years. It equals about 1.3 million for Rebo. They also have another program, according to Charlie. I think they've got $15 million set aside to address filling in septic holes, if you will. And so we're contemplating reapplying for the CDBG for Casablanca/Rebo again, so that we can leverage those dollars against that additional fund. If you recall, we pulled back from the Casablanca CDBG because it was just over the top expensive. But this, maybe combining these funds all together, we can make it work. So we're gonna sit down with Charlie soon and hopefully figure that out.
6 million, 7 million,
It was like 6 and some change several years ago. It's probably going up.
I'm sure. Okay.
Marshview Park, we're, Forwarders is coordinating the environmental phase 1 assessment that's required by CDBG. Just so you know, we're still waiting to hear from the second potential grant funding source that would provide the balance of those dollars that I've mentioned before. If we do receive that grant, you can use the CDBG funds as the match. So our out-of-pocket would be pretty limited. So I'll keep you posted. Really nothing new on the Sand Beach Causeway, other than I just wanted to keep it out there that we do want to get that shower and rinse-off area added prior to the warm season. So we'll keep pushing Michael on that one. Splash pad, we're going to talk a little bit later, but obviously we received 2 bids for that. We'll discuss that. Pre-construction for that one is set up for February 20th. We resolved, we do have capacity credits banked, and so we'll be leveraging some of those because we do have capacity credits that are due as part of this project, so we're using those funds to do that.
You know what the anticipated project length is for that, Vin?
What are we thinking?
I'm sorry.
The entire splash pad,
Couple of months.
couple of months.
Yeah.
So, assuming we've resolved all BJWSA conflicts, which I think we've worked pretty heavily to do, bringing them in. And obviously, you've seen some of the sidewalk work that's being done right now. So, we've met on site several times and hoping that all utility conflicts are completely addressed. But sometimes you don't know until you get in the ground what you're going to find. You can have all the locator services you want, but sometimes you dig a hole and you find something that shouldn't be there.
Sometimes just dig a hole.
Short-term rental and developmental permit GIS database, that is available to staff right now for the online viewer. I know that we want to make it available to the public so they can take a look at projects, so we're still wanting to nail that down. Cypress Wetlands.
Can I ask real quick?
Yeah.
Once that does go live, the development permit GIS database, could we get like a little tutorial or just a little,
Sure.
like a little showing? I mean, once it, because it's.
Yeah,
I think that's
absolutely.
really exciting and cool. We up there, talk about transparency. That's pretty transparent. So, I mean, and even for my own benefit to kind of see it in action and this is how you kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Look cool. If we could get, a little walkthrough would be helpful, I think.
Cypress Wetlands, Phase 1 completed. Scott's here, obviously. We're looking at Phase 2 and hopefully some funding there, so we'll keep that in mind.
Looks great.
Yeah, those are all back.
The Ritter Circle, Spanish Moss Path. Still waiting for the driveway issue at Pender to be addressed, and obviously finishing up the signalization. But on the other end of that's why I included Ritter Circle. We are coordinating with Michael on how we interface that end of the path with Ritter Circle and Appleton Way. If you remember, we acquired the little triangle piece, so we'll be working with the contractor to complete that. And we've been talking to Dean and the trail folks about signage that will get people, once they get off of Appleton and into Ritter Circle, how to direct them through town. TIF, we did meet with Safe Harbor a few weeks ago to discuss kind of redefining that list of capital projects associated with the TIF and updating costs. And Michael, we've cut loose Michael on that. We met with Michael again to discuss that preliminary list, and we're going to potentially be pricing out other things that could be funded via the TIF. Obviously, it has to be public projects. All right. Battery Lane, stormwater outfall, just want to make you all aware of this. Adjacent to those condominiums, there has been a significant amount of erosion heading towards that critical line. For those of you who may not remember, we did some work back in 2015 on the outfall ditch off of Marina Boulevard that runs kind of, it cuts through the property adjacent to Integra Apartments as well as the Battery Lane condominiums. But even before that, there used to be a pool at that complex, but because of the erosion that happened, the pool was removed. So we went out before Christmas with Michael and walked it, and I provided in your folder an assessment of what Michael is seeing. HOA and some of the residents have a different opinion, but if you've seen some of the cleaving, what happens is because of the tidal action and what looks like erosion in this direction is undermining of the lower levels, which is causing this water, this land and dirt to drop off. So they're going to potentially hire their own professional. We'll get the two of them together and maybe come up with some solution. We can address that outfall ditch, but if you look at it, it's a trickle, and if you go out and take a look at what's happening there, it's pretty significant. But, you know, we have very, very high tides, low tides here, and it's causing some problems. So, and it's actually about to breach what was a stormwater detention area. So we'll keep you posted on progress there.
Guess real quick, the back one on the TIF we were talking about, are we still trying to timeline get in front of the county in April, May?
Well, we're going to sit down right now with hopefully Safe Harbor in February 24th. Look at those two lists, and then we'll go from there, because obviously Lawrence will then tee up and schedule that interface with the county and the school district.
Great.
We just want to have as much answered as possible before we go in.
Absolutely.
Naval Hospital sidewalk, obviously the silt fencing has been removed, and we're scheduling that ribbon cutting for February 11th. So Lisa circulated a list of potential invitees today.
I think at 4
Obviously, we'll
o'clock.
invite the public to that as well.
4 o'clock?
Next Wednesday.
4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Safe Harbor, we do have a meeting scheduled for the 24th to discuss progress, status updates, TIF.
TIF projects.
So that'll be pretty significant. Y'all did receive, we received an email that there is some shuffling of personnel. Ron Gift is no longer one of the interfaces here. He's been replaced by, I believe, David Rogers, I think was doing some work with the City Marina. So, and then Will Richards, who we were working with, has been replaced as well. Yeah. Master plan effort for Marina Village. You know, we stood up this group that included all of the impacted property owners, Fish Camp, Shell Ring, some of the adjacent properties, the town, the Strail folks, and we had a 2-hour meeting to kind of discuss what it is we needed to address. There's some notes that I included from that meeting, but I gave you a little bit of a summarization. But obviously, we're dealing with some pretty common issues. How do we deal with the garbage, the cans? How do we deal with the trail? How do we deal with the roads? How do we deal with the parking? And so we're trying to come up with a concept plan that accommodates all of those interested parties. And in one answer, we did get one answer today. One of the things that we're looking at, we looked at the map, there was what was called a right-of-way piece of property. That is to be conveyed because it was a dead end. And it was conveyed it was supposed to be conveyed years ago to Safe Harbor, which was then Gragos. So we will contemplate that piece as we plan within the red line of the development agreement, including the town's Lot G. And we wanted to figure out kind of your best case scenario if you're able to involve the adjacent property owners up on 11th Street, the bow tie piece that's on the waterfront between Fish Camp and the Port Village, and see if we can work out those solutions. We all kind of know what the Safe Harbor obligations are. Gragos signed the deal with Fish Camp, they basically required of themselves that they would accommodate the location of dumpsters. Well, that's now been inherited by Safe Harbor. When the town purchased Lot G in order to build rebuild the shrimp dock as well as a potential processing facility, that was a good fit for us because the reality is that both Fish Camp and Shell Ring are using Lot G. If they're going into private hands, we might have a different situation. You've also got cross easement issues through Lot G. So y'all decided, hey, let's get everybody in the room, let's try to figure this out.
Yeah.
So we've engaged Josh Tiller, based upon the feedback at that first meeting, to start the process of trying to figure out how that would look. Figure out exactly where the trail should go, how parking will be impacted, how we want the trail to interface with the roads there, and where does it make the most sense to relocate the garbage and anything associated with it, whether it be some sort of compactor to accommodate not just Fish Camp, but Shell Ring also.
Yeah.
Some common area, and keeping in mind that we intend to rebuild the processing facility that will need to be able to accommodate larger vehicles, loading, unloading.
I thought the meeting was very productive. I thought everybody really made some headway on stuff. You said we talked about really the trash area, whatever that is, needs to be a communal. There doesn't need to be a Fish Camp trash area and a Lot G trash area and a Shell Ring trash area. Like, it needs to be kind of communal. So it's compact, it's small, it's little, takes up as little space as possible. So I thought the meeting went really well. Something to keep in mind, I learned too, we talked about employee parking. They mentioned that a good bit, Fish Camp and Shell Ring. Fish Camp was telling us that when she's running her restaurant, she probably has about 20 spots are for employees, 20 to 30 spots are employee parking. So that's something to keep in mind. So again, I thought that was a great exercise, just like the parking presentation we saw tonight is very proactive instead of let's just building it and then in 5 years it's a mess. So I thought it was a productive group. So
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to be in a couple of weeks, hopefully we'll have
Yeah.
some kind of draft or something to take a look at. E-bikes, Deputy Chief Massey has put together a draft of an ordinance to discuss as we move forward. I know Councilman Owens wanted us to give that some thought. Staff is reviewing that ordinance right now. If you've been reading any of the local newspapers, in particular the Post and Courier, that's being discussed in Goose Creek and Mount Pleasant, and they're all kind of handling it in different ways and kind of learning from the other. I think Goose Creek realized there's some things in the Mount Pleasant ordinance that didn't really work. So I think they're trying to fashion something that works for them. I think our biggest concern was those vehicles or those bikes on sidewalks. And so we're trying to create an ordinance that addresses those scenarios that make the most sense.
Okay.
We'll probably bring that to you back in March. The construction of shrimp dock and processing facility. The applications are in. One of the interesting things is we got a request to clarify ownership. Initially, I thought it was about Lot G, which we did provide them with the deed, but they're actually concerned about the marsh in front of Lot G. And if you recall, there was a King's Grant that went with all the property that was owned by the State Ports Authority. So we needed to get permission from Safe Harbor to build the dock through the marsh section in front of Lot G, and they have agreed to do that.
yeah, that's not going to be a problem.
So, just wanted to,
So if you know anybody at the Corps of Engineers, tell them they can
yeah.
move our application up. We would appreciate it.
Capital sales tax, y'all appointed Gary Freeman last month. I did speak with Gary, he's very excited about it, looking forward to taking that on, and we'll be meeting with him to discuss our capital project needs for the town and just kind of roads in general. So they'll be putting all of that together shortly. And he's working with county staff and scheduling those sorts of things. Airbnb, no controversy there. We have had extended dialogue with a few of our operators and trying to get clarification. Obviously, we've involved our attorney as well as the attorney that was involved in the settlement to get clarification on that. It's still a work in progress. We think we have about 120. I think we have around 120 maybe total. And I think we don't have issues with about 114 or 15 of them. So we'll get those as cleaned up as we can. Hopefully get that done. Legal, just wanted to bring you up to speed. Obviously, we're answering interrogatories on the Getsy lawsuit. relative to the road easement that's adjacent to the Integra Apartments and the properties that abut the river there. Quite involved, so I've been going back and forth with lawyers on that. And if y'all remember Mr. Trask, who came and spoke a few meetings ago about his concerns with Farino, he has filed suit against the town of Farino, so I'll keep you posted on any progress as it moves forward. Incubator, we did get the application out. The mayor did a video. We've gotten a few applications so far, so we're excited about that. We're still trying to resolve the liability insurance policy issue. Initially, when we reached out to our carrier, they were willing to do it, but for a really exorbitant price. So we've gone out to the private market to get some better pricing, and we keep answering questions. We'll hopefully have that figured out very soon.
So I know you said we've gotten a few applications in, and we've gotten the walls for inside the building. So I think it'd be great, once we get those artists in, and they've been qualified and vetted, and we get them in there, and looks real pretty, we should do another kind of ribbon cutting, grand opening, kind of just keep explaining that and pushing that out, because I think that's just gonna continue to build excitement when people see it, and the more you know about it. So yeah, once we get to that point.
Are we putting signage on that thing?
I don't know. That's a great question. I guess we have a budget, so I don't know if we can accommodate, maybe we can get the.
I always heard a little
artist to create
logo
some
cost,
signage
just
for
a
us.
decal.
Yeah.
I don't know where
Our
it's
experts
Peel off and
over
put
there.
Just a decal logo on the
Every 6
front.
months.
Yeah, we can come up with something. That'd be cool. I think that's a great idea.
And so those things are moving ready, like, we're good? we've got our
They seem to be
requirements?
moving ready. We've got the keys. We just can't occupy them until the insurance issue is resolved. Yeah, so we're close with the carrier.
Yeah.
I think we're close. She asked 3 more questions, and so I'll keep answering questions until she writes the policy. So, working on the shed issue. Hopefully, we'll see a business plan, and I'll keep you guys updated on that one as it moves forward. We did meet with MRB today. We looked at a compensation study, just kind of analyzing from top to bottom where we fit within the county and the region. We also are trying to address some of the gaps in our glossary of employees, if you will, to make sure that we're a good fit. We have them also looking at our model of how we do compensation. You know, we're one of the few remaining ones that really includes longevity as a trigger. Obviously, the current employee base would be kind of grandfathered into that system, but if we decide to move away from that, anybody that would be hired on after that would have to fit the new model. But you know, they asked us if we would be behind the market, in the market, or ahead of the market compared to other municipalities. And I said, we want to be in the market, we want to be ahead of the market. You know, we're still, if you look at our budget compared to other places, it's not the same. So we have to keep that in mind always. Plastic updates ordinance, I just put those 2 things in your folder for you to review. We're following what's happening at the county level,
Yeah.
to see how it moves along, as well as the other municipalities, because obviously if we want everybody to be participating in this if it's going to happen. And if you remember the presentation from a couple months ago, we were looking at, I think, straws and takeout containers, those sorts of things. And how that would be addressed, whether it be done by the market, whether it's, you know, prohibited, or we truly encourage them to take that on as a business practice. So we'll see what discussions happen and go from there.
Well, Lisa, I think it's good to see kind of how that goes with the county and their level,
Yeah.
and this is their project, let them kind of go with it first.
Yeah, and then the last thing is and I meant to include this with the discussion of shooting adjacent to neighborhoods. I know that that's at the committee level right now. And we'll see what kind of the outcome of that is. I know there's some practical concerns in the ordinance that may not make sense. And we may address it differently when it gets here. You know, they may have a model of an ordinance. But actually, it's not we do prohibit discharge of weapons. It's how they're handled outside of our neighborhoods, which
So
is the real
I know that the county is looking at an ordinance change. They had a meeting yesterday, their public safety committee meeting yesterday afternoon, I spoke with some people from Shadow Moss that went to it.
Yeah.
And so they went there and spoke, and that was great, to have them there doing that. And they also had some people from Bluffton. Bluffton's got a neighborhood that's dealing with the same kind of issue. So they had residents there, they had people giving input, which I think is great and will help them probably draft a better ordinance for that issue. So it was good.
That's what I got, but I'll take any questions.
Anything?
No, I'm good, very, very good. Thank you, Vance.
Was there any like big announcements about anything last week? I mean,
Oh,
in the
no.
past week or
Did
anything?
you hear anything?
No, I was just wondering. I didn't know if I didn't see it on the briefing.
Well, I didn't want to steal your thunder.
No, I'm sure everybody saw. I did want to mention it. We all saw that the announcement of the VA clinic that's going to be on Rebo Road. It's something that we're all very excited about. It's going to be a great amenity for our veterans, for their families. A lot of guys I know travel to Charleston. They travel to Charleston, Savannah, and now they'll have services right here in the town of Port Royal.
It'll be for next week.
That's been something that's been talked about a lot. It was looked at 3 different areas, and we really kind of were holding our breath, hoping that we got it on that spot. We think it's for multiple reasons. One, the service. This is a military town. We all know that, and that just kind of business and hospital, clinic makes sense. It's going to be right there where the Sea Island apartments are. Everybody's been asking us for a long time, what's going to happen with them? When are they going away? When they're going to, well, now you know. There's a couple things I did want to address that I think are really important. Another reason why we thought it was a great fit was it's a VA clinic, and we do have neighbors around there and around that, and we wanted to be really, thoughtful to them. I mean, there's people that it is a residential area over there. And so what made sense to this was, at some point, that was going to be developed. As you could tell, the Sea Island apartments were on their way out, and something was going to go in there. So the options you're looking at is some, big commercial space, apartment building, well, we couldn't have a storage unit, but there was a time where that was potentially there. We didn't think any of those fit. They didn't really provide the benefit to the town, our veterans, the tax base that the town just talked about in our budget. And the great thing about this for those residents is that it's a clinic. So it's not 24 hours a day. It's not ambulatory, so you're not gonna have ambulances coming and going, loud noises. It's not overnight beds. So when everybody goes home for work, they turn off the lights and they go home. And so I think that's important for those residents around there to know. We understand that during construction, there's definitely gonna be disruption with something of that size and that caliber during the construction. As of right now, they're talking about a groundbreaking in May, June of this year, and be completed. It's about an 18-month build-out and be done early 2028. January, that's all weather permitting, of course, and things, but that's kind of where it's at. So we will communicate with everybody. I've already heard from a couple residents, during the construction phase and everything we can. But again, that property was going to be developed, and if it's going to be, our thought was a, 300 or 400 room apartment complex, or a $30 million VA clinic that brings in, I think the estimate is 90 to 100 something jobs into the community. We think it's got a real benefit to increase our economic activity around the area too. So I just want the people that especially live around that area to know that we are thinking about them, and we are going to communicate with them and work with them as much as possible through this process. But we're very excited about it. And like I said, we were kind of holding our breath that would come through. And it was a great surprise when we got it. I mean, so, I don't know if anybody wants to add anything else, but
We're grateful, but I know it's probably premature, but do you think it will have any impact on the Smilax access to the Spanish Moss because of the scale of it?
yes. And that was something we actually talked about. While that is being planned and going in, we probably should maybe look at addressing that while we've got a bunch of concrete trucks and dump trucks there, so we've already kind of discussed that issue, so. Because, while we've got it there and they're planning and they're developing it, that's kind of a perfect time to, take care of, 2 birds, 1 stone. So we talked about that just the other day while that construction is going on. Let's see what we can do about that issue too, while everybody's there. So yeah, again, just very excited about it. It's, it'll be very big and transformational to the area. So we're excited about it. And again, we think it's just a perfect fit for the town of Port Royal as far as what could be developed there at that old apartment complex. So, anything else? You heard from any veterans?
I do, and the greatest thing, and we miss the mark a lot of times in the country where we forget a veteran's sacrifice after they've they take the uniform off. And the advocacy that this town generally has given for this clinic is evident in not only the awarding of it, but the work getting and leading up to it, you know, and how everybody was kind of rooting for it. Again, they deserve that, and for us to not forget that.
Yeah.
And I think this is a pretty awesome way to show that, and us sticking together with it. And, not only that, I mean, the awarding company and all that stuff, and, you know, the owner of the land, you know, being willing to sell to do just that. I think that's pretty awesome. So, yeah, we are hearing about it. It's great to hear it, to talk about it. Everybody's excited, because you're right. I don't like going to Somerville for, you know, eyeball stuff. It's gonna bring specialty services
Yeah,
here, you
exactly.
know, where we're having to go and do, when we do, the VA has changed a little bit, where we can do community services type stuff, community care, where we can go to specialists here in town, but to have a consolidated spot for our veterans who are, you know, disabled or who are mobile impaired, to just be in the same building and kind of get moved around in there and get the care that they deserve.
Yeah.
It's amazing. For families that don't have to travel, you know, out of the area to do that, it's such, I mean, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be so awesome to
It's
see
gonna
this
save
thing.
me, because I don't
We're
have to
really
take my
excited
father
about
to
it.
Somerville anymore.
I don't like
Great.
leaving Port Royal most mornings, but,
Yeah.
you know, some of those appointments, they take you a little ways, because that's where the specialty care is.
No, so we just wanted to talk about that again. Everybody saw it in the paper, and it's a big deal, so we're excited about it. Okay, anything else from council on the briefing or anything?
No, sir.
Okay, up next, review agenda for the February 11th, 2026 council meeting.
All right. No longer will we have a presentation, so you're good there. Ordinance 2026-1, an ordinance to authorize the town manager to convey excess real property to facilitate construction of sidewalks within the town described as Beaufort County Tax District 110, map 11, parcel 359. This is 800 feet at 810 11th Street. You had in your packet a map just kind of showing the location of the property, where that'd be impacted, and obviously it's in compliance with the sidewalk construction program. Any questions?
No?
All right. We'll look at 2026-2, which is also a conveyance. This is property located at 917 18th Street. 8th Street, excuse me, it's 51 feet. It's a tax 110 map 11 parcel 459. It is also in compliance with the sidewalk construction program as well, and it's approximately 51 feet. Good there?
Great.
All right. And then the last one is 26-3, which is approximately 30 feet at 1008C 12th Street. If you remember, we've been doing several of these, and so we're kind of piecing them all together. And I think what we do want to discuss at the retreat is a second phase of
Sidewalks.
sidewalk construction. So we're securing all of these, and we'll hopefully take them all down at once and look at gaps where we have them to finish out some of that network.
Okay.
All right. First readings, we have 26-4, an ordinance annexing to the town of Port Royal approximately 8.42 acres of real estate located in Beaufort County described as Beaufort County Tax District 600, map 6, parcel 31. This is 58 Mud Bar Road. And then there's a request for a zoning designation, obviously, that has to accompany that, and it's T1 Nature Preserve. I'm going to let Noah speak on this.
Yeah, so if you aren't familiar with Mud Bar, it's the westernmost property within the town's growth boundary across the highway from the Maritime Center.
Yep.
And so next to it is property that's either owned by the Port Royal Sound Foundation or jointly owned with the Sound Foundation and the county, known as the Mobley Tract. Most of that property adjacent to it is zoned T1 Nature Preserve. The exception of that square in the middle has a higher zoning for a potential research facility in the future for the Sound Foundation. And so this property is being requested to be annexed in at that T1. And then hopefully the goal with staff and some of these property owners and nonprofits is to look at some type of hub for that ecological marine wildlife research and education that's going on there already, and hopefully an expansion of that, so there'll be discussion of that in the future. And this has not been to Planning Commission yet. This is title only. It'll be to Planning Commission at the end of this month, before it's back for second reading in March.
Yeah, I think it's very exciting. You know, I don't know if I would encourage you, if you haven't checked out the Port Royal Sound Maritime Center, it's really
Yeah.
really cool gym. It's, they also now have got the Wheezy Center out there where they have a lot of events, but just as far as, you know, Port Royal, as not only are we a military town, we're surrounded by water, and it's just the Port Royal Sound Foundation does an amazing job in educating the public in the you know, the preservation, conservation of the waterways, of the, you know, the ecosystem around here that's so beautiful that we all love. It's really cool that that is in the town of Port Royal. You wouldn't think all the way out there, but that is in the town of Port Royal. And so this annexation right here that they're requesting is just part of their vision for their future.
Just to clarify, this property is not owned by the Port Royal Sound Foundation. We'll be working with
It's working
the
in
Sound
coordination
Foundation
with
and
it, yeah.
another group in the future to discuss that kind of partnership, so.
But it's going in with that whole.
Yes, sorry, yeah, just wanted
Yeah,
to-
that research facility, maritime preservation, all of that. It's kind of, they're just expanding that.
We're creating some synergy here.
Yes, exactly. So you've got, I think they've talked about a birding space. They've talked about, now you've got the Maritime Center. So a really cool, just, you know, unique, I think, kind of really gym that's in the town of Port Royal. So thank you for clarifying that. Okay. Well,
The one left
It just
off.
obviously, I don't know if you want to speak to the limited nature of T1 Nature Preserve, so it reflects the intended use of the property.
Yeah, and I had one that was left off the proposed agenda
Okay,
from Planning
good.
Commission as well, sorry.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
There's also going to be a first reading of a rezoning request that was left off the proposed agenda. It's at 1628 West Paris Avenue. It's currently zoned T5 Main Street. The requested zoning is T4 Neighborhood Center. This went before the Planning Commission the end of January, and they recommended denial based on the comprehensive plan. Past planning efforts have identified the triangle between Rebo, Paris, and West Paris as a major opportunity for redevelopment in the future. And so downzoning from Main Street to Neighborhood Center on a parcel that fronts on West Paris Avenue would kind of reduce the ability in the long-term future to develop that more urban gateway feel in the triangle, so that they recommended denial on that. Oh yeah, thank you. So I can go over this again with, once it's on the agenda with the maps that identify the exact parcel, but to the left, fronting West Paris Avenue, it's kind of the backwards L shape. Thank you.
This one here?
Yep. So there's an existing single-family home on it. It does have frontage on West Paris Avenue. And again, downzoning, Planning Commission and staff felt would reduce the ability and options for redevelopment in the future that kind of meet what the comprehensive plan's goals are for that area of town.
all right. Well, thank you.
We have the applicant here. I don't know if he's interested in saying anything or. We didn't know if you want to make a comment or anything since you're here.
Yeah.
Well,
Come on to the mic, please.
yeah. Well, that issue is, I've been told has been decided and won't be changed. And if that's what it is, it's what it is. Can't do anything about it, right? But there are 4 tracts of land there that I own all, right? There are 2 on Paris Avenue, 1631, 1629. And with the new growing, it's going to get, a lot more is going to happen there. Then I got what's behind it, right, is a partial. And then there's 1628, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, right, that I own. I'm going to sell the 2 pieces on Paris Avenue. I want to do that. And then I want to be able to take 1628 is my residential homestead. And I want to redevelop it. We want to take in, enlarge it. I want to put another bedroom. I want to put a front porch on it, and possibly a little side pantry onto the house is what we're looking to do. Now, as I was told, it doesn't meet zoning because T5, but it it is a possibility of that could happen, and that's what I'm bringing up. We don't have plans for it yet, because, you know, it'll be probably maybe a year or two in the future before we could ever sell ones on Paris Avenue.
Okay. So you said you're looking just to expand the house that you live on now?
Yeah, no, I'm expanding, it's a rental house right
Okay.
now. I mean, the renters that live in it, they're right behind us right now, you know? They just basically come to support me, but that's what we want to do
Okay.
in the future.
Is he able to do that now?
Yeah, technically, the single-family house wouldn't comply with the current zoning district, but you're able to add on to it, expand it, as long as it meets the current setbacks and doesn't create an encroachment into a setback.
Oh, I would certainly do that. There's plenty of land around it.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of space there to do that.
Yeah, there is,
Under the
plenty.
current zoning, yep.
Okay.
Well, that's what I was looking for. I just want to get that point across to the council, you know, that's our plans.
Great.
You know, we're looking forward to Paris Avenue finishing up so I
Yeah,
can
no.
sell my properties up there. You know, okay?
Well, we'll clean it up. We'll clean up the front for you.
Well, we hope so.
Yeah.
We'll work with you on that, okay?
Okay.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
All right. And then the last item under council action is a approval of site work contract for the splash pad. We did receive 2 bids. Included in your packet is the recommendation from our engineer on selection of the 2. Obviously, there's a great disparity between the 2 bids, so it's pretty obvious. So we will be recommending selection of Joco Construction in the amount of $117,194.
Great.
Now, important information and dates, let me go back to,
And we'll do a ribbon cutting when that opens.
yes.
We'll all run through it together.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be if you could, when you'll have that, and you said that initial meeting, pre-construction meeting's coming up with them, and once the bid's awarded, it looked like that was coming up in a couple weeks. Yeah, and as Jorge brought up, just, I know construction, like you said, you start digging and, you know, you never know what's in there, but, you know, it would be ideal if a splash pad was open for summertime.
Absolutely.
So,
If not, we'll have a rubber hose and a little.
that kind of, I mean, hey, that worked back in the day, just the hose, get the old sprinklers.
The kids, yes.
So, but, you know, I mean, just saying, you know, summer coming up, it would be, if possible. I
Yes.
understand that if that was opening for summertime, that would be great when the kids are out of school. So
So he can take the children down
Yeah,
there.
That's our
exactly.
goal.
And
They're
I'll
gonna
join
love
him.
it, yeah. Okay.
All right, important dates. Thursday, February 5th at 5 PM is the Design Review Board meeting. Friday, February 6th is the St. Mark's Episcopal Church Oyster Road at Live Oaks Park at 5 PM. Saturday, February 7th is the Mardi Gras Golf Cart Parade at 4 PM.
How are we looking on that? That looking good?
It's looking good.
Oh, yeah.
We're still getting applications in. It's a little bit different for the Christmas Golf Cart Parade. We
I
don't
know.
require the applications, but for this, because we're getting floats in and all different items,
Mm-hmm.
it's just helpful for us for staging the area of knowing what to expect, so.
Yeah, it's a little more orderly, so it takes that. I've been trying to push that out. I don't want people just showing up thinking it's like the golf cart parade and be like, oh, we just get in. It's like, no, this one, we're trying to get you a little, you know, organize, you know, sign up and apply before, where, like I said, the golf cart parade is just, you know, get there before we take off and you're in it,
Right.
so.
We had folks as far as Georgia last year, didn't we? That came in for the
We
Mardi
did.
Gras, yeah.
It'll be good. I know Shell Ring's getting ready for it, and just a big thank you to Nancy
Nick,
for,
yes.
and Nick, yeah, but it's gonna be great. I think the Battle of the Bands will be a lot of fun, so.
Our biggest, you know, I hope, one of the challenges I saw at the Christmas parade is spacing. Pacing's got to be good and
Yes.
tight, because we had people that were driving up the parade route when there were big gaps, so we can keep it as tight as we can, that'd be great. So our lead car will be good, right? All right, perfect. All right. Saturday, February 7th, also, the same day, the Able Foundation All You Can Eat Oyster Roast at Live Oaks Park from 5 to 9 PM. And then, let's go back here. February 13th and 14th, Bands, Brews, and Barbecue at Live Oaks Park.
And then Live Oaks Park.
Monday, February 16th, President's Day, our office will be closed. Thursday, February 19th, The HPRF third Thursday at Live Oaks Park from 5:30 to
So
7:30.
really quick, so I missed that. So Bands, Brews, and Barbecue's not on Paris Avenue?
It's on Paris Avenue.
Oh, that's
Okay,
what-
got you,
yeah,
okay.
I had to go back and look again.
Yeah, I went, okay.
Yeah, I had to
missed-
go back and
I missed
look.
that.
I was going to look.
Okay.
You said, okay.
We can go hang out at Live Oak Park.
Yeah, that's fine. I just was making sure I
Yeah.
Okay.
had that right.
I had to
Okay.
go back and check.
I'll read Thursday, February 19th, HPRF third Thursday at Live Oak Park, 5:30 to 7:30. Saturday, February 21st, YMCA Beast Obstacle Course event at Live Oaks Park, 9 a.m. Monday, February 23rd, Planning Commission at 5 p.m. And then Saturday, February 28th, Complete Student 5K Swamp Stomp at Live Oaks Park. Obviously, they will be running in more places in Live Oaks Park.
Okay. And I did want to say, since we brought up, I think, the beginning of this year, having the events in the newsletter and all of that, I think that's been great. And, you know, you were able to pull some numbers. It's getting attention. People are clicking through, and that's really good. So I appreciate you getting those out there and just pushing, you know, just kind of promoting Port Royal events and people, and so that's great. So thank
We
you.
could add 2 events. We discussed one of them is the ribbon cutting for the sidewalk, February 11th, if we could add that. And then also, Port Royal Fire Department's having on
Push-in.
February 6th, a pushback
Push-in.
ceremony for a truck.
The ladder truck push-in on
That's
Friday.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
is that at Station 2?
Yep.
And then DRB is tomorrow at 5?
Yep.
Sir.
Okay.
And just for everyone, 2's right there by the Dollar General on Rebo Road.
By the old bowling alley, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool, a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, as much as it cost, that truck cost, we couldn't afford the gas, so that's why we're pushing in, right?
Well, we're happy to help.
Every city helps.
Okay.
I'll give you a little history about the push-in on Friday.
Please.
Great. Cool. All right. Any more dates we want to add? We got those on there? Okay. Public comment? All right. Hearing none. Any comments from council?
No, sir, I'm good.
Okay. Great meeting.
I was just a little disappointed, but I'm happy.
With?
I didn't expect to see the wired lights for the crossing. I expected to see the cast aluminum bar like they have on Robert Smalls Parkway.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that we have it, but I was a little disappointed to see that string wire across the road.
Yeah. No, I saw that going up too, so.
Yeah. I
It's
just
a
had
long
to say
time
that.
to get them right there in
I
Harris.
just had to say
and-
that, but.
No, no.
Revo.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anything else from council? Go to the town? All right. Well, and we don't need a motion to adjourn?
Nope.